Welcome back. It's Dr. Teague here again with the collaboration with KiKi. So today, this one's going to be a little bit shorter, but it's to the point because we're going to talk about stroke. So I'm not sure how many of you out there understand kind of what a stroke is or have actually had an experience with somebody who you know of or personally has had a stroke. But it's something that's quite important. One, because it impacts somebody and their life so greatly. And two, there's potentially something we can do about that. The sooner we are aware of, the time it actually happened. So let's talk about it kind of in this diagram in the sense that this is what a stroke is. So there's two types really. There's either a blood clot that obstructs a blood flow, or where you have a blood vessel kind of rupture and cause blood to come out of that area and cause pressure. Now, the most important one of those really, well, not in a sense most important, one of the most important things to understand is which of the two it is. Because if it is that blood clot, there's something we can potentially do about it, but we need to be more aware of it the sooner. So we kind of say time is brain, in a sense that the faster we identify that something's wrong, the faster we get somebody that we care about or ourselves to a medical professional, the faster we may be able to do something about that. And now what that is will depend on the person itself, the time, the size. There's a couple of different factors. But what is important to understand is if we identify this quickly, we can potentially do something that could be life-altering. Now, I keep saying we because this is a collaboration between people like myself, which are medical practitioners, but also yourselves, right? You have a part in this. This is your lives. These are your family members. And as much as I would love to say for every single person, there's a doctor with them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, who's helping guide them and getting them through their lives, and identifying things early, that's really not the case. So you out there are important in helping identify things early. So that's why today we're going to talk less about what a stroke is, but more identifying when you think a stroke's happened and when to get somebody to help, right? So if you look at this diagram, we kind of have this acronym that we're going with, right? So the first thing to look at somebody is F, so their face. So if you look at somebody straight on, and especially somebody they kind of look okay. And sometimes you look at them and say, wait, something's not right. That means something. So look at it again. And what you can often notice is one side of their face is kind of drooping. So if you look at this picture, this is somebody who's normal, right? And now if you look at this other picture, this is somebody whose face is a little bit off. The eyelid may be sagging. When they blink, the left side closes completely, but the right side doesn't. If you try to make them laugh, they smile, but one side of the cheek comes up, but the other side is not really moving much, or even it's sagging, and you can see a little bit of drool or spit coming off from the side. So if they look not right, that's important. The second one, so A, it's how do they sound, right? Often people who have a stroke, they actually get either something very subtle as they get confused, or something quite obvious where they stumble over their speech. They sound, they make no sense, and the words they're forming really don't make any sense. Or they just look at you really frustrated, really confused, and they're saying normal words, but it doesn't make a normal pattern. And they seem to understand what you're saying, but they can't communicate with you. So that's something important to understand and to act on. The other component is, so how do they look? How do they sound? Are they moving? Is one side moving? Is one side not? Are they stumbling? Are they off balance? That's all important. So what should you do if your loved one or yourself or even somebody you're at a restaurant, you notice suddenly is not talking properly and their face is drooping? Call for help. Call an emergency service, call an ambulance, get them to a hospital, because the sooner you get them there, the faster we can do something about it, because that brain is important. And what we're talking about is something that's causing blood flow to decrease to the tissues in the brain. And the faster we can correct that, the likelihood of recovering that tissue is better. So we can take somebody who's not moving their left side, who's not understanding and frustrated, to somebody who potentially you can get a lot of that back. Now, very importantly, and I know this is important for some families out there who've suffered stroke, not everyone can come back to the way they are, and that depends on a lot of factors. But what I'm saying to you and stressing to you that early identification of a stroke can potentially lead to a full outcome. Now, where you sit on that spectrum of severely disabled to completely back to your normal depends on you or that person as an individual and the medical baggage they have and the time the stroke was identified and what type of stroke it is. But what I'm saying is, if you're vigilant, if you're alert and you notice something is wrong, don't sit back and say and explain it away. Now that's fine, Tati will be okay, he's going to be okay. It's call for help, get them to somebody who can examine them and say, hey, you're right, let's do something about this. Okay, so it's Dr. Teague. Until next time, we talk again.